police officer turned someone you know and trust. If you're going to do business in this space, that's who you want to know and trust. Stay tuned for more, everybody. Giddy up. Welcome everyone to Your Little Castle Show. I get to drink my little intros. But I'm like, that was a great. We have a production assistant in the building here, and your wife, first name
Wendy.
Wendy, that's right. I've got her in the credits coming up here at the end. I'm older. I forget sometimes names until I repeat it 5 times. Wendy. Okay, now I won't forget. But when we're dealing with our little planet, we talked about this in our pregame prep. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Safety and security, most important. If you had a police officer show up to your house, normally like, what's going on? But if you knew that it was the guy who was going to fix your house, who had been a police officer for 17 years, then you might be like, okay, now I know I got somebody here who is going to do the job, because you can't be a police officer for 17 years. And I'm going to get a lot of the accolades our guest here, Greg, has. State champion wrestler also. That's discipline, man. To be the state champ, you had to work hard. Sports helped you, I think, you would agree, sports helped you become the successful person you are on this planet.
Absolutely. Sports were a big driving factor, for sure.
All right, let's talk about it, everybody. First off, give a quick shout out. Your Little Castle is sponsored by Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things. Where do you like nice things? In your little castle. How many of us have our own little castle? This is everybody's own little castle. Their house is their castle. And Greg here can make sure, you see right there, roofing expert and former 17 years. Thank you for your service.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir. Thank
that.
you.
Making sure that we all stay safe. Another big sponsor. We're doing good work here, so people figure out that they can trust this Cardinal Cowboy. I've been doing this 25 years now as this Cardinal Cowboy character, but always trying to emphasize the leaders in the community. But My Metal Pro, a lot of people are getting involved with and trying to figure out how to invest in their future. Good idea?
Absolutely.
Plan a little bit. You work your business all day to save as much as you can, but passively you can't do everything, so then people invest. What do you invest in? If you look at the history of gold, I never did. I was not one that would say, let's study gold. How does it perform? I was mutual fund, stocks. You got to pay the broker. You got to put the down payment. You got to put sales. They call it a sales charge. $5,000 in some cases. But hey, buy gold. Get it from somebody you can trust. They've decided to make this into a system where it's all automated, it's all tested, it's all guaranteed, it's all certified. And My Metal Pro brings that up for us to offer to anybody who watches our show. Get a hold of me. Go to Gold Cowboy. There it is, everybody. Gold Cowboy. Nobody bought Gold Cowboy. I bought it. Gold Cowboy. I even made it with AI into my logo. We made it into the gold version.
I like it.
This is like Babylon now. No, we're not trying to. But goldcowboy.com. Check that out. Thank you for all of our great sponsors. With that, let's get in here. Wendy put together a great looking website for you.
Absolutely.
And we've got an awesome Facebook page here. Let me get back over to that. And so here, we scroll to the top. There it is. That logo looks great over there, man. Good work. I like it. So I'm going to click a follow on there. Is that cool? All right. So
awesome.
You've been doing this now. You've been in the industry. So let's talk about that. Where does this go back to? It's a cool story.
That's how we grew up. I mean, that's what we did. My dad owned a roofing and siding company, and our summers were spent on job sites. From the age of 10, I mean, that's what we did. So I've known this business since I was a kid.
Okay. And so then you go off to become a police officer.
Yep.
Did that for 17 years. Greg started when he was 4. He doesn't look that old, but but he's been 17 years as a police officer. And then said, "Hey, let's bring back Dad's business." Tell how. I think it's a cool story. Talk about how that transition happened and where you decided, "Hey, let's bring this back."
Sure. An unfortunate event hit our family. You know, my dad had a stroke and caused us to restructure the business. And when we didn't think he could come back anymore, we decided to rebrand and go out on our own and take our expertise from the years of being on job sites with my dad and put it into our business.
Well, there you go. And I didn't realize it was a stroke that had caused that. It was a cool story. He took over Dad's business. But yeah, I mean, I've been through that particular situation myself. My dad, I didn't take over the business. He's a college admissions counselor, but spent 53 years helping kids go to school. Wow. And then one day, poof, you can't do it. But life throws you curveballs.
Sure.
You got to learn how to hit the curveball. And so you guys decided, hey, let's keep this thing going. How long has the company name been around then? Or been in the industry? How many years of experience go back with you and the family?
Our company goes back. My dad had our company when I was a baby. He's been roofing for 40 plus years. I started when I was 10. I was on my first roof when I was 10. So
Okay.
I guess you're talking about 31 years of in and off of roofs,
Okay. Wow. And so the family and history and everything right there. So, and the other thing, like I said, if you have a police officer show up to your door, normally you're going, what's going on? But if he's a former police officer that is building your roof for you, fixing your house, you go, this is a guy that's not going to take advantage. He's been in the community, born and raised in St. Louis.
Sure.
All your life?
Yes, sir.
And going to make sure the job is done correctly. BBB, got your rating there, got the A. I know they give you the minus if the company, so the relatively new in terms of the ratings, and the LLC started, but 40 years of doing this. So
Yes.
But the BBB always goes until you get till your second year or whatever, they give you the minus. But
Sure.
no, not a single complaint. It's got some great reviews we'll talk about here in a minute also. But you gave us a little bit of that. What led you here? Tell me. I mean, when was it like there was no choice? Like I know kind of what where some parents are like, you're going to run the business one way or the other. Obviously, they didn't demand that, but you had that history. And then as a kid, did you have interest in it, or you became a police officer, but felt like? Tell me a little bit more about why you all right, we got to take this over. We got to come back. Just because you couldn't let the name go, but you also had a history with it too. You enjoyed doing it. Is it true?
I loved it as a kid. I thought it taught a lot of things you needed as an adult. Hard work. I watched my dad come home every day, dirty and happy. And we had that. We had that blue collar. He was a company owner. We had that lifestyle, and it was a great way to be raised. And when I got into law enforcement, I had a great career in law enforcement. I did a lot of really good things. Met a lot of really great people. When my dad got sick, it really wasn't, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't an easy transition into, hey, we're going to take over a roofing company. I knew everything, but initially it was kind of the shock of it, like, oh man, Dad's not here. We got to take this over. We got to do this. And we did. And then we just took it from there and ran with it. And it's been great ever since.
So any other family members with you have helped along the way? I mean, obviously the transition there, was it pretty much Dad and now you?
Yeah, my brothers were loosely involved when we were kids. I mean, we all helped out, but not in this business, no.
Okay, but and here you are, and how'd you come up with? Now, was it always Shingle contract?
Shield and Shingle, yep.
Yeah, and we got kudos to Wendy again. That is one of the coolest logos I've seen. I'll put this up on the wall for everybody, but literally, like, check out how cool this is. This is their Facebook page. That is very cool.
Pretty proud of that.
And so, but I mean, that makes me feel like, okay, here's somebody that's going to make me. If you notice, I'll show you the picture outside of my house. I have a lion out there, and it's part of the fountain, right? But the lion symbolizes strength and honor and loyalty and all those things. So, Shield Shingle Contracting is what you want to look for, everybody. All right, well, we talked a little bit about why you've been doing this, how long you've been doing it. To give me a little more about that passion, I guess going from law enforcement, obviously serving our country, serving our community, does that transfer over here a little bit? Now you're saying, okay, now we get to serve in a different way. And tell me why that you feel is what the passion is you have to help the community.
I think the biggest bridge for me was helping people. I mean, it really didn't change from, so say the incidents change, right? The reasons we're at somebody's house changes, obviously, from policeman to being a roofing expert, right? But helping people is the same, no matter what business you're in, and it looks the same. It's always wrapped the same. And that's one of the biggest driving forces that caused us to get into this business, was we saw so many people getting ran over by these insurance companies and these contractors that were showing up to take a check and leave. And, as a policeman, I couldn't sit back and watch people get victimized. So that's what, that was a big driving force for us to say, okay, we're going to do this ourselves and take care of people the right way.
I got the pencil here, everybody. Sometimes I forget to bring it out, but take note. I mean, that is a great point for life. Like, you can get away with something once or twice.
Sure.
And shady this and sneak over there, but you start to develop a reputation. You can't do that. That's why I've had people talk to me about the fact that they've seen me doing it. You did some research about us before you decided to be on the show. But it's important. I mean, it's not like I'm some genius. Oh, that's a wonderful thing. It's like, it's just smart business. It's smart for life. Be good, treat people well, and generally things tend to go your way. You're going to run into those people. I've had situations where I just got completely taken advantage of. There's times in life where I'm like, I could do it this way. I always just felt like my mom was over my shoulder because she was. Judy Rethwish, the Judy Rethwish Auditorium. Yeah, they didn't name the building after her because she didn't get things done or didn't make things right. But yeah, so mom, all these people you work with, they get to work with you for 3 to 5 years. You've been my mom for 53 years. Like, you better do it right. Now, I look back and I'm like, that was lucky for me. I didn't like it as a kid. But that discipline, obviously some of that came from your background too. Your mom, your dad raised you to be this way because it's better for you long term for life. How many people don't get that kind of guidance and then they're wondering why their life is difficult?
Right.
That's how you run a business too.
Sure. And that's how my dad was. I mean, I watched my dad build relationships with people, and then I got to be a part of it. Even as a policeman, I was still heavily involved in the roofing side of things. Taking off my gun belt and tearing off a roof. I mean, that's just what we did. But I watched my dad build those relationships and become somebody's trusted contractor, and that for me was huge. It was watching all the walls come down and them say, okay, I'll let this guy take all this off my house and put it back together. That's a big feat for anybody, to hand me a check and say, fix my house. Hope you do it right. I mean, and to watch people trust you is a big deal for me. It's a big part of this business. I take it pretty seriously.
Well, it's important, I think, especially coming from that background. As I'm thinking, every guest we have on, I get to learn a little bit about the perspective they have that's made for their success. And when you come from that, look at the hair stain on my arm. Look at that. I'm not even making that up. But come from a police officer background, serving our community, not making a great living usually. I mean, and not to say that the police officers...
We did all right.
They did all right. But they're not making millions.
Sure,
right? You want to make millions, you got to start your own company. That's just pretty much the way the world works, in America at least. And so other countries, you can just become a controller, I don't want to say any other words than that, of the people, and but it's still a safe strategy. Like, we're going to tell you what to do. That's not the way God made it. I'm not going to get political, but I'm just a matter of the way God made it. In my estimation, give people their due rights to, be free on this little planet, and they'll end up helping more people along the process.
Sure.
And if you encourage it and promote that, then it turns into good for everybody. As a police officer, and then that transition to business owner. Now, lots of responsibility. Like, you have to decide if somebody's going to go to jail or not. You have to figure out who committed a crime to right what was wrong. You're now a little less stressed from that perspective, but you're more that you're like, this is somebody's home where their kids are going to be raised and where they're going to play in the backyard. And if they don't have a safe place or they don't have a roof over their head, literally, like, what could be the most stressful thing? Where are the kids going to sleep tonight? Because a big storm came through, destroyed the one asset that they have. A lot of people retire based on their house.
Sure.
They turn around and sell it when they get to be 60, 70 years old, and they've got something worth $300,000. They can live off that if they've lost their house because somebody... You talked about a story. I'm getting off on a tangent here a little bit. But you talked about a story that you knew of without naming names. But this is kind of shocking that this can be what goes on. But they had come in, 300, big job.
It's huge, yep.
And then didn't even do the underlayment. They just said, it's how hard... the owner was somebody that was maybe... Who goes up on the roof, given what age they are? I'm only 53. I'm still like, I'm not going up on a... You still have a cap. I'm like, I'll get up there, put it up there at some point. We record a studio in a secret location, everybody. You might guess where it is. Bought a big house when I was young and made a studio out of it. But literally, they took the time to say, or they took the method, I should say, to say, hey, they're not going to look underneath those shingles because they're not going to climb up on the roof and see if there's no underlayment. There's no everything that goes into that. So their margin becomes a lot higher, and then the next thing they know, the roof's failing. And then you got the call, and you're like, you figured out what happened.
Well, and it really just comes down to greed. I mean, you get greedy contractors that take, an 80-year-old homeowner and say, you're never going to get up on your roof, and they know you're not going to do that. But I mean, to us, that's somebody's place of peace. That's our place of peace. Our home is where we find peace. And I take that very seriously when we're contracted to work on somebody's home. That's the way I view it. When a contractor does that, I think it discredits all of us in a way, when they defraud people like that.
Well, and I appreciate that you're saying that. We're going to share a little bit about some of the reviews. Not somebody who spent hours and hours soliciting reviews. Hey, I'm in the same club, everybody. I've got lots of testimonials because I run into people and I say, and I'm a computer nerd, so I got a bit of an advantage here. I'm like, I break out my phone. I'm like, Ed, I've seen you 5 times since you were on the show. How was it? He goes, I made 25% increase in sales over that. I go, what else did you do? He goes, nothing. I take that video and I put it out there over and over again, and every time I do, I had 25%. That's a big jump for somebody.
Sure.
Did he make 10,000 and made 2,500 extra? I doubt it. He probably made like 200,000 and made 50 grand extra. That's what these. Hopefully, you can use these videos for your purpose to do that. But get your phone out, and I go, Ed, and I recorded it, and then I even bothered him later to say, let's do a Zoom call. That's a lot of extra work. Getting these reviews, you've got a lot of people who said some very nice things about you. As you're getting started with your company here, all 5s. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to read let's go down the list here. After a horrible experience with another company, was this who we were talking about before?
No, this is a different customer, actually.
Oh, brother, it's out there. Greg actually fixed all their mistakes for a reasonable price. He takes the time to listen and do things right. Wendy took the time to explain the process with insurance and keep you updated. I've never been treated better. There it is. Read it. It's on the wall for y'all. Read it yourself right there. And then Greg installed gutter guards for us. We couldn't be happier. He was fast. Came when he said he would come, and helped us with additional issue we're having with our gutters. I highly recommend this company. And so another note I take from that is it doesn't matter the size of the job, because a gutter job is not a big job, even if it might have been part of the gutters, right? It didn't sound like you replaced all of them, but helping people, no matter what it is. We're going to make sure and make it right.
Right.
And that builds that reputation.
Sure.
Is that what a little bit of? You learn it from Dad? Is that
you treat people right and they treat you right? You know, that's business. That's good business. So I mean, that's how I was raised, and that's what we try to do. You know.
Very cool. And that's what we like to emphasize there. So just a little bit of the reviews, more available out there on Google. Do a search, and then I can't forget to do this. We did talk about it. Did I leave it? There it is. Doing my Alt-Tab secret commands on my computer here. Switches screens. Take note, everybody. I'm a computer nerd. I'm not good at much, but I can do computers. But here's this BBB, and here you are, A+ coming, because until you have a problem, you're going to earn that. I can tell you that's how it works generally. I don't work for the BBB, but I can tell you got the A- because no issues, and then once you've had at least a year or so, they're going to upgrade you. That's cool. So that was 1126. Good work, and keep that accreditation. It's good to have that, because they do check you out. You're not going to get that A- unless you've earned it, and then when you've been around for a little bit, then you get that A+. As long as there's no issues, and it sounds like the way you run. I wouldn't want to cross you, because this guy, don't cross a former police officer. We've joked about that before. There might be some people say, yeah, he's a former police officer. Let's if it's the shady people, you don't want those guys.
Right,
you don't want those guys as customers anyway.
Right.
So there's not that many people out there like that. Keep up the good work. Give me a quick cost analysis, if you will. A lot of people wonder, oh, okay, and especially for somebody like you, I think it might be more relevant. Because a roof, most people are going to be, I'm not messing with trying to do that myself.
Sure.
We all have to do it, your DIY, do it yourself. But if it is a side job, some little smaller piece that they could do, you might advise, tell me how you would handle that. And sometimes it's still not worth them doing it themselves, because they hack it together and then it might have caused more damage. And then it ends up being an issue that.
Yeah, I would say it's never advisable to do it yourself, for sure, especially on some of these roofs. I mean, you're talking about, it looks safe on the ground, and then you get up there and it's like the wind's blowing, you're 2 stories off the ground, and it's a little scary. So let's stick to the professionals doing that side of things. But most of our business, honestly, is in the storm restoration, and a lot of that is dictated by the insurance company. So
right.
And that's what we tell people when we come in. You want an estimate right away. The insurance company's going to dictate how we proceed, and then us as contractors go to bat for you and make sure you get everything that your coverage provided for you.
That's an important one to take note of. It's nice to get those little repairs done. They're important. Greg will help you with those. Obviously, he's done some of that, but more important, if you've got a big storm came through, like just happened,
right?
Like another tornado. There was 2 big storms we've had this year. And I was out of town for both of them. That's weird. Cardinal Cowboy goes out of town. There's a storm comes through St. Louis. I won't leave St. Louis anymore, everybody. Put the hat on here, because that's talking about the community and what you're doing there. But yeah, how important is it that people make sure the insurance companies are not in the habit of saying, hey, we're just going to pay for everything, right?
Sure.
They have a job. They've got to report to their bosses. What are our margins? What are our profits? You need somebody that has that knowledge to say, hey, and Wendy helps with this, obviously, right?
Absolutely.
In the background. Thank you, Wendy. And your team to make sure, hey, they didn't fix this. They didn't cover that.
Sure.
These are things that should have been covered. I had it happen to me, and literally there was something that didn't get done. A story I'll give you real quick. My garage doors had been damaged too, and they were the contractor grade, and they look nice on the outside, but they're thin aluminum, not insulated. thank goodness a buddy of mine who likes what I do said, 2 new garage doors coming, a 2-door and then a single. So I've got the 3-car thing going on. And he goes, courtesy of us. I would have been out $4,000 for that, and it didn't get fixed in the initial repair, which supposedly the coverage was supposed to cover.
Sure.
And somewhere the money went. I'm trying to figure out, well, how did all the money get spent, and I didn't get the garage doors? They got damaged. Like, it wasn't like, should they replace? There's like a dent in it.
Right.
You know, but those are the things you got to watch out for.
Absolutely.
How
And you
often
need to have a contractor that's knowledgeable to do that, because you'll run into contractors that are here for the quick payment. It's a process. The insurance process is a process. The insurance company adjuster doesn't work for you as a homeowner. They work for the insurance company. But us as contractors, that's where we come in and say, no, you need to give them the coverage that they deserve, what they pay for, what you pay for on your house. You know, you deserve everything to be fixed the way that it was before. And that's what we do is in our company is we fight for the families that need that. You know, that some of them even got abandoned by other contractors where they've been left holding the bag and not knowing how to get their stuff fixed. You know, and that's one of the main reasons we do this business, I think.
Yeah, I guess it could be easy for a contractor to also make off with some of that money, take a little more profit.
Sure.
Oh, we did everything. Is that what happened to me? Wow. You know, holy cow. But you don't know what you don't know. If that's not your area of specialty, how would you ever figure that out? Get yourself a former police officer to come in. They're not going to mess with him, right? And say, do this right, man. We stand up for what's right. I love all the police officers. I say hi to them everywhere I go.
That's great.
It's interesting seeing them because I went to Rittner High School a few weeks ago, and I didn't identify any of the police officers I knew there by name. I just waved at them, and they waved back and said, "Hey, cowboy, good to see you." So to develop that good relationship in the community, somebody like yourself who's worked 17 years as a police officer, something else to bring to the equation here for somebody that's been respected in the community. You've got to make sure you're going to do the job right.
Absolutely.
That's important for most people because I don't think I've ever met another contractor that was a police officer for 17 years.
It's a little different situation.
Yeah, but there's somebody who's integral and just coming back to help build up, continue what the family started.
Sure.
And you saw the opportunity, didn't want to let that fade. I get that. That's pretty cool. All right, well, we talked a little bit about that cost analysis, and when you really get into an overall cost analysis, you're talking about this piece costs that much, this is what it should be covered. That's all dictated by the insurance companies, too.
Absolutely.
By now, it's like, this is what's getting done, this is what we're paying for it.
Yep.
But if you don't put it in there as something that should be fixed, they're not going to pay for it, right? That's where you got to make sure the right things are getting cut, make sure everything is getting put in there. How many claims do you want to make?
Right.
Come back, they missed this, sorry.
Well, and I think the biggest misconception in our industry is that you call your insurance company, you think that they're sending out somebody that has your best interest. They don't. The adjusters have the insurance company's pocketbook best interest at heart. You know, us as contractors, we want to see you get your house back to where it was and, you know, be wild with the transformation, not fighting over garage door like you talked about.
Yeah. Garage door. No, garage door's $6-7 depending on what
Absolutely.
it all is just if you got the whole thing, they had to just report. Anyway, and now I'm thinking about it, I'll mention this too. My house is white siding, and my buddy was on here before. He talked to me. Is this true? He said, "Oh yeah, they should have said, oh, it's white. There's no damage." No, now you've got new siding, and then you've got the chalky white. It's because it's
not matching.
It deteriorates, even though it looks the same in color.
Yeah.
Rub your hand on it. He said, "There's some chalk on there because it's deteriorating."
Yeah.
They're not the same. They should have replaced all sides. And I didn't know any better. I got my brother-in-law to work on it.
Right.
And it wasn't really even that. It was just like him swooping in.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to cover that. We're going to cover that. We're not going to cover that. Da, da, da. I'm just like, what?
It's the door knockers and skinny jeans like we talked about.
Well-spoken, articulate young men and women and whoever that are doing the best that they can, but you want to have the expert there who's done this with the family for so many years if you can.
Sure. You definitely want to have somebody that's been around the block in this business, not somebody that's showing up to knock on your door and shove a piece of paper in your face and say, sign this, we're going to help you.
Yeah, if they ask for that signature, I've had that happen in another situation. It was long as we're signature, and I ended up turning them down. I'm like, I'm not signing anything. And I looked it up. I had like 3 days to rescind if I did.
Absolutely.
But I was like, there's something going on. And I found out later, this happened too, it's a different story. They came in and put one piece of lumber on my property because then they're saying they've started to make delivery of their materials. Therefore, the contract had started.
Right.
Is that another trick of the trade?
We've seen it all.
Somebody might try to do
We've seen it all. I mean, yeah, we've seen it all. I've not been amazed yet at some of these bad business practices, but you know, I mean, all we can do is come back and fix them. So
that's what you do. All right, as we finish up with the first half hour here, we got a lot more to talk to Greg about. This is cool having a police officer. Thank you for that and your family and everything. And then somebody's gotten in and said, I'm going to make a business and take the business that we've had in the family for so long. But what would, as we finish up this half hour, what would you say is the one mistake that people make? And is it trying to take on the insurance company on their own? Is it not doing the research to figure out who they're hiring? What is the biggest mistake you see happens?
I think the biggest thing I can say to homeowners is don't rush. Even if your home has damage to where you're getting water, we can fix that temporarily while you do your research, while you find a company that's good for you. And that's not to say it has to be us, but I think that everybody should do their due diligence and not pick the first guy knocking on your door. I think that's where a lot of these horror stories come from, But yeah, I would say just don't rush. Don't rush. Take your time. There's time in this. It's not an immediate thing. The insurance companies aren't beating down your door to get your stuff fixed right away. Everybody understands the process. So just know who you're putting on your house, is my biggest takeaway from that.
Maybe somebody who's been serving our country in many ways for
would be a great choice.
It makes sense. I mean, look, when I found out we having our pregame prep, and he says, "Well, actually, 17 years as a police officer." I'm like, I feel safe that he's in my house right now. If anybody's going to mess with me, I got a police officer sitting right here. Who knows how? Former police officer. Thank you for all that. And was that long enough? I guess you had to make that decision, because there's pension and all those kinds of things to consider in retirement.
Yeah. I retired as a policeman. I mean, I got my retirement and retired and had a good career.
That's cool. It's good that they do, because I know it's not, you don't become multimillionaires as police officers.
You don't.
But they do at least give a fair compensation and a nice something after you retire. Way to go, police officers. Keep supporting those guys. And now you get to help people with the family business. And what's the goal here? Ultimately, turn it over to your kids or family, build it up, keep it going?
I just love what we're doing. I mean, I'm just having a good time doing it. I mean, it's been great. It's been really rewarding, and the good with the bad, everything's just been great. We're gonna keep it running, keep treating people right, and see where it takes us.
Shielded Shingle Contractors, everybody. Obviously, somebody you can trust, because just the whole background you got there. Greg Johnson and Wendy in the building here also does a lot of you're the ops manager. Was that the title? Right? That makes sense. Operations are important. You got to make sure that everything is operating, and to who's going to order the materials and make sure the things they schedule and get everything coordinated and get the crews going. And Greg is out there actually coordinate out in the field. Does that count? You're in the field.
She's the brains.
She's behind the scenes making it all
brains.
Come together. Good stuff. Well, as we get into the second half hour, we're going to talk about some other really important things, like, as I'm looking here, what is the big mistake? We talked about that. What is it that really sets you guys apart when it comes down to it? And I want to get into the details with regard to particular instances where you've had issues that you had to fix.
Sure.
That somebody came in. We talked a little bit about one. Give us more of the details about how they might have come about. Don't name names, of course, but what people need to be wary of, because they can be taken advantage of for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I just think it's transparency. It's not uncommon for you to ask your contractor for pictures. Have them show you what they did before they put the shingles on. Have them show you the hidden parts where they did the work, and then they can show you, look, we did this, we finished this. It's just transparency in this business. I think that's the biggest thing.
We'll talk about that more here in the second half, everybody. Stay tuned for more. Giddy up.